you know you make me float. Boy, you really give me high. Ooh, I feel like I'm on dope. 'Cause you serve me on a...
Hey y'all, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Dot Marie, aka Pretty Brown Marie. And if you are new to my channel, then welcome. And if you are a returning subscriber, then gang. This is going to be a story time about the time my ex kidnapped my son. Now, mind you, we have no problems now. Everything is copacetic. We parent very well. But during this time, oh baby, it was going down. It was going down. Cause what? Cause who? You took my baby? Oh no. First things first, if you didn't check out my last story time that I posted, which was the time my ex cheated on me with my friend, you have to watch that story time in order to be caught up on this story time, because the stuff that I'm going to be mentioning, it might come from that story time. So, you know, I'm not going to re-explain all of that all over. I don't like editing long videos. So yeah, just check out that story time if you confused on anything, and it should sum that up. So this story time is going to take place where I left off from last story time. So I left off last time and he had just saw my son. I had just had my son. He was like 1 month old. We're going to fast forward. So by this time, I have already moved out of my mom's house. When I first got out of the military, I applied for public housing. So I applied for public housing and got in there real quick, because, you know, when you're in the military, you really don't save your money. I know I didn't, and I was young. So I had absolutely no money for no deposit, no money for none of that stuff. So public housing it was. I applied for public housing, got a notification back in like 3 or 4 months, and I was out of my mom's house. So I'm in my little apartment. My son is like 1.5 from the time that he last saw him. In between the time that he was a newborn and him turning 1.5, he would fly down from where he lived at, and he would come down here and stay for like a week or two, and he would see his son like that. So I eventually ended up getting out of housing within like, I'd say a year, and I only stayed there for like basically a year, and I ended up getting my own apartment, like apartment that you had to pay rent and all of that. So I got my own apartment and stuff like that, and he had got tired of flying back and forth because he was all the way on the other side of the world, over there by California and stuff, okay? And he got tired of spending money on those flights and stuff like that, but deep down in my mind, I really was like, I don't trust you, though. I don't trust you because he had cheated on me, right? And he never had admitted to it. So I decided to give it a chance or whatever and let him come and stay with me and my son down here where we reside, because I really didn't want to be no single mom, stuff like that. It was hard with me going to school, trying to go to work, you know, stuff like that. So I was like, fuck it, you know, what I got to lose? He never admitted to it. I really don't know if it's true because I don't have no proof. Again, being young and stupid, because I was just trying to tell myself anything just to try to make it work. So he ended up moving down here, you know. He brought some of his things, and he ended up staying with me in that apartment. We stayed there for a while, and then after time, I started not feeling it no more, okay? Mind you, I was going to school and I was going to work. He wasn't from here, so he didn't want to work at no like fast food, no regular job. He was the type that wanted to get a degree, and he was really putting in his papers so he could join the Marine Corps or something like that. So that's what he was really waiting on. He really wasn't trying to get no job, and he was spoiled too. His parents gave him money, so he really didn't have to do nothing. So I was going to school and I was going to work. He was spending for himself. He had his own little money and stuff like that, so everything was good. It came time for me to put my son in Head Start, or I think it was Head Start or it was daycare, one of the two. So I ended up enrolling him in Head Start daycare at this point, and mind you, he is like 2 years old by now. So I'm still going to school and I'm still going to work. Now, I didn't have no problem going to pick up my child when I got out of school or out of work, because I didn't work every day and I didn't have school every day. It was like I had the perfect schedule. So the days that I didn't have to go to school, I had to go to work. The days that I didn't have to go to work, I had to go to school. Usually I was off on the weekend. Didn't have to do either. So that was the perfect schedule. One day, his dad, we named him CJ in the last video. So CJ asked me to add his name to the daycare list so that he could be able to come pick him up in case I needed help. Okay? Keyword, in case I needed help. Like, say I'm running late or something, and, you know, he would go get him a rental car sometimes, and that's how he would cruise the city. So, you know, he would be down to go get a rental car just to go pick up our son. Like, that's what like, he had his money. He was straight. He wasn't tripping. So he was like, put my name on the sign out sheet so that, because, you know, if your name is not on the sign out sheet, people is not supposed to be picking up your kids. If their name is not on that sign out sheet, people is not supposed to be allowing them to take your kids. Only you are allowed to take them if your name is the only one that's as the parent for release of your child. So I ended up adding him on the list because I was like, yeah, I do be trying to rush. Now, I do be rushing when I be trying to go pick up my son, because you got to pick up him about a certain time, because they usually be closing when I'm about to get off work. Not when I'm going to school, everything be fine. But when I'm usually about to get off work, I be having to rush to get from work to go pick him up from Head Start. But I love picking up my baby, so I ain't had no problem with it. But I was like, yeah, that would be better because he don't really be doing nothing all day. And so he could go pick him up, right? Mind you, he had a whole plan, whole time. Keep that in mind. He had a whole plan. So I put his name on the list, and, you know, I'm like, well, thank you, because that's a whole lot of help and stuff like that. Like, you know, just being thankful, you know, just being thankful. So time goes on, and mind you, in the last story time, I told y'all how he cheated on me with the girl, but he never admitted to it. But you know, you get that deep gut feeling saying that it's true. So every time I would look at him or try to with him, like, I just couldn't, because the only thing that I thought in my mind was, you slept with this girl that we knew, like, you slept with another girl, period. And I just can't do it. I can't do it. Like, I just couldn't get that thought out of my head. So, you know, I would call myself having a real conversation. You know, I haven't called myself having an adult conversation. By now, I'm like 22 or 23. So I'm a little bit more mature. You know, I got my job, got my school going on, then got my first apartment. I'm a little bit more mature, but mentally, I wasn't thinking before I was acting. So I should have never told him this. But I ended up telling him, like, it wasn't working. And I think that he should go back to that other side, you know, to his other side, because it's really not working or whatever. And he was talking about then that he was going to move closer to this side so that he could get his own apartment, get the type of job that he wanted, and be able to travel. We could be able to travel much easier where nobody don't have to buy no plane tickets. We could easily just drive, you know? So I was like, well, that sounds cool. You know, he was trying to make it seem like he was down to let it be, as long as he could still see his son and stuff, right? So everything kept going smooth. You know, I wasn't rushing him to get out or nothing. I was just letting him know that I wasn't feeling it no more. But I was still cool with him staying there because, I mean, why the fuck not? Why the fuck not? So time goes on a little bit. Now, this is just a little bit of time since I told him that, right? And I think he was already plotting this, because at this point, he had only been staying with me for like a month. So one day I go to school. I either went to school or I went to work. I'm not sure which one it was, but one of those I went to. And I get out, I go head to the daycare center to go pick up my son, right? I'm signing my little name on the sheet, you know, like, yeah, I'm coming to get my baby. And I'm like, where he at? And she's like, he's gone. And I'm like, what you mean he gone? And she was like, his dad came and got him. And I was like, duh, girl, you put his name on the list. You know, you put his name on the list, so duh, he came and got him. So I was like, oh, I forgot. Yeah, you're right. I forgot. But he didn't ever call me and tell me that he was coming to get him, so that's why I didn't know. He just came and got him on his own. So I thought that was kind of weird, because usually he's a good communicator. Like, if he about to do something, like if you about to go to the store or something like that, he'll actually call and ask, do you want something? Or something like that. So it was weird that he didn't call me and say that he was going to take our son out of school. But I was like, maybe he got like a little surprise or something. I don't know. I don't know why I would think that when, bitch, we are finito. Like, what surprises is he giving you, bitch? So I'm headed to the house, and the whole time I'm driving from my son's daycare to the house, I'm calling CJ's phone. So I'm calling and calling and calling. Your call has been fast forwarded. Done. I call again. Your call has been fast forwarded. Done. I call again. Your call has been fast forwarded. Done. I called at least 6-7 times. I called the whole time from driving there to driving to the house. In between, I talked a little bit of shit, but for the most part, I was calling that phone, because I'm like, why is he not answering? And he always answered the phone. So he wasn't answering the phone, and I finally got to the house. Now at this point, I'm enraged. Like, I'm ready to curse him. I'm ready to curse somebody out, because why is you not answering my phone calls about my baby? So I go in the house. I walked to the back room, which was the main bedroom. I bust in the back room. I didn't see the suitcase. I didn't see the clothes. I didn't see nothing. I thought, okay, maybe he getting comfortable. Like, but why would he be getting comfortable? He's supposed to be leaving soon. So I look in the closet to see if maybe he hung the clothes up. Girl, nothing. So I walk back out. I'm like, okay, maybe he took his stuff out since, you know, it's finito and he put all his stuff in our sunroom. So I go in my sunroom, look in his closet, and most of his clothes is gone. He didn't have that much. He was only 2 years old. Most of his clothes was gone. And I didn't see no grown people clothes in there. So I'm like, okay, it's like slow but fast dawning on me. It's like, I know what's going on, but my mind is trying to tell me, no, that's not what's going on because it's going to make me flip out. Child, I go to immediately calling, still calling over and over and over and over and over. No answer. It was being forwarded to voicemail the whole time. Like, it was going straight to voicemail, like as if either the phone was off or somebody was declining my calls or they blocked me. It was doing like that. It wasn't even barely like ringing. So at this point, it's really nothing I could do. So I called my mom. And I was like, I don't know where CJ and my son are at. Like, I've been calling his phone. They say he came and picked him up from daycare, blah, blah, blah. And now I don't see his clothes in here or nothing. I forgot what she said, but basically she was like, well, just be patient. Just give it some time. Basically she didn't know what to say. So I'm giving it some time because that's all really I can do. I'm trying to keep from spazzing out and going overboard and like calling the cops and saying something that's not really happening. So I'm just waiting and waiting and waiting. I finally get a call on my phone. I finally get a call on my phone and it's from CJ. So I answer the phone frantic, like, where are you at? This man tell me that he all the way on his side. Mind you, he say all the way over there by California. I'm all the way over here in North Carolina. We are far. That's at least about 12-hour flight. He's on his side. He is back home. So I'm like, what? Like I said, the whole time he was plotting. He asked me to put his name on the list because he knew that he was going to take my son out of school. He knew that he couldn't take him out without me getting him out. And he had a flight for that day. So when I went to school, he went and picked up my son while I was at school or work. And he went and caught his flight and he went back home. I immediately was like, this is kidnapping. Like, you can't do that. That's why I'm telling the story time, because I'm pretty sure a lot of people think that. But that's not the case. Now, I think once he told me that he was all the way over there, I did call the cops. That's when I found out if y'all don't have no custody agreement, then it's fair game, especially if both of y'all names is on the birth certificate, and then it's fair game. So they can take your child wherever they want. You can take your child wherever you want. It's just a matter of them stalking you to get them back. Like I said, my story times have a reason. So that's where I'm at right now. Cops ain't gonna do nothing about it. Nobody can't really do nothing about it. Nobody really knows what to tell me, my parent, my mom, like nobody. Nobody don't know really what to tell me except to go get my son back. But I don't have no money. I pay rent, and that's barely what I can pay. At that time, that's what was going on. All I could pay was my rent, was my electric bill, and I had a car note. I had a little bit of money in between the next paycheck to get me by. To buy me whatever it was I wanted in between time. In between time. So how am I going to buy a $800 plane ticket there and back? It's $800 there and $800 back, roughly. Because now I'm like, especially if I'm trying to go right now at the drop of a dime, really it was about $1,200 there and $1,200 back. I don't have that kind of money. So time went on, and at first I was cursing him out. I was mad, and I was just talking hella shit. I was just like, oh, you ain't nothing, you did this, that, and the third. And then I started, my gears started switching in my brain. So I was like, well, I'm going to just act like I'm over it. I don't care if he cheated on me, and I want to be back in a relationship. So that's how I started talking to him when we were talking on the phone. And I was just, like, well, I forgive you for everything that you did or whatever and stuff like that. And it's no problem and stuff. And I just basically was sugarcoating it so that I could smooth my way back in there and get my son back. So my granddad ended up giving me the money by now 2 months done passed. So all we've been having is phone conversation. I've been seeing my son through video and by talking to him on the phone. You know I was livid. But at the same time, I had to remain cool because you gotta play the game. So he thinking that I want to get back together and stuff. So he was like, well, you gotta move out here with me. And mind you, he stayed with his parents. So I had to move out there with him and his parents is basically what he was telling me if we wanted to be in a relationship. So what I'm gonna do with my apartment? I was like, okay, so bitch, you gotta act fast because you just gotta act fast. So I was like, okay, that's fine, that's cool. My granddaddy gives me the money. I catch the first thing smoking and fly. I make it. I land. I drop. I make it to their house, right? We have this long drawn out discussion. We wasn't arguing or nothing because, like I said, I was trying to keep my composure. And I stayed there for at least like a month or two. Another month or two. I had somebody paying my rent. I would give them the money and they would pay my rent because I had to hold my apartment open now. Meanwhile, I was over there for a month. At least a month, I think. Now, while I'm over there, right, one morning I wake up and mind you, he don't think nothing of I'm trying to take my son or nothing because like I said, I was playing it cool. So, you know, I would sleep in the same room with him. Our son was sleeping there with us. I would play video games with him. I was eating with them, laughing, hee hee ha ha, this, that, and third, all of that good stuff. Child, whole time, I'm like, when should I get my son? So one morning I got up and everybody was still asleep and I went into their little computer room and I was going in there to, I think I was going in there to either look up flights or, girl, I was going in there to get on that computer to look up something. But either way, he had his email open. Mind you, like I said in the last story time, he never admitted to ever cheating with the girl. But besides that that message that she sent me apologizing about it, about the whole situation, I see the emails and the emails actually did say, I'm trying to get married, this, that, and third, to the other girl. Now, the other girl name was Simone, the girl that I said that he cheated on me with. Him and Simone was emailing back and forth. Now, he had his email up. So that's how I saw the emails, and that's where I got my proof. That's where I got my proof from. God don't make no mistakes, and he left them emails open just so I would know, like, girl, don't be stupid. But really, I wasn't being stupid in the first place. God, you know what I was coming out there for. You know what I was coming out there for. Like, I was not trying to take this man back. But, you know, that proof never hurt. It just makes it even better. It just makes it the sweeter icing on top of the cake. So there was my proof. I saw the emails firsthand myself from him to her. And they had been still emailing up until the time I even came out there. They had been emailing this back and forth, talking about getting married, I love yous, all of that. Like stuff that we were saying to each other. That's what they was now saying to each other. So trifling, very trifling. But that's what was happening. So that was my proof. I hurried up, exited out of that. Boiling on the inside, but not really though, because it had been a while and I had been over him for real. So I was just mad that the fact that you lied and never admitted to it had me thinking that I was crazy when the whole time I knew it was true, but whatever, it's okay. I got my proof now. So one day we get into this argument, right? And I'm like, okay, this is my perfect time to get my son. So we get into this argument. I think I confronted him about the emails. This had, not that same day, but a few days had passed. And I think I ended up confronting him about the emails. And I told him what I saw in the emails. And he was like, oh, I apologize, this, that, and the third. Like, and it was just bullshit. It was BS. So that's why we ended up getting into the argument. So then his parents came out the room. And now we all in the living room about this one situation, about these emails and him lying about cheating on me and all of this. Because even his mom said that he hadn't been cheating on me and stuff like that. So now we all in the living room about these emails that you said never happened. So meanwhile, she had my son in her room. Her and her husband had my son in her room. Whenever we got into this argument, they had took my son from him, put him in their room because she probably was like, oh yeah, now she gonna try to probably take him. But it was being smart. But bitch, I was being smarter. I was being smarter, but not really though. So they ended up calling the cops on me. Now, mind you, where he stay at, it ain't no black people. It's no black people. I want to tell y'all to stay. Fuck it, I'm gonna just say it. He in Oregon. He stay in Oregon. So there's no black people out there. There's no black people out there. Not really. I ain't never seen none. When we went to Walmart, I never saw none. When we went to any kind of store, I never saw none. I'm pretty sure there's some scattered around, but it ain't nothing like North Carolina. So they called the cops, and again, not a black person. So I'm like, oh my God, I'm just getting myself in trouble, okay? I was like, let my son out that room. you know, this, that, and third. When I be getting in my emotions, that's why you gotta control your emotions, because then people that's how people know your next move. So I was just getting angry, and I picked up a little train piece and I threw it, and it didn't hit nobody, but it hit her door. And so that's when they called the cops. So the cops came, and because nobody had been hurt or touched or anything like that, they was like, they don't want to press charges and this, that, and the third, but they wanted me to get out their house. And I was like, okay, well, I want my son. And that's when the cops told me, again, now we in a whole nother state, so I'm assuming that this is for all states. So that's when the cops told me, well, are you the mom? And I was like, yes. And then CJ was like, well, I'm the dad. And the cop was like, well, who has custody of the child? And we was like, nobody. He didn't have custody. I didn't have custody. He just had took him from school and brought him out here. And the reason I came out here was to get him back, because so he can go back home. I was like, I got my own place. He has his own room over there, and I'm just trying to get my son back home. And they was like, well, if nobody has custody, then that's up to y'all. Y'all have to dispute that. So I'm like, oh my God. But at this point, the main thing she kept saying is, I want her out my house. I want her out my house. That was her main argument, because she wanted them people to get me out of her house, because then she didn't want to have to go through this problem of me trying to take my son. So the cop escorts me to a hotel. They said they would pay for my hotel because they knew I didn't really have no money. I just flew out there with the money that my granddad gave me, and that was all the money I had. And then I was going to call him, and he was going to buy my plane ticket back once I had my son. So I came out there with no money, just my flight, my clothes, and I was just at their house, eating whatever they ate, doing whatever they do, no money. My main goal was to get my son. So they offered to buy my hotel because she wanted me out her house, and she offered to buy me a train ticket all the way back to North Carolina. A train ticket. Do you know how many days that was going to take? I think it was going to take like 5 days, maybe 4 days for me to get from Oregon to North Carolina, and they didn't even offer to buy me no plane ticket. But they wanted me out of their state because they didn't want to risk me running into them or nothing and then trying to take my son back, you know? So they wanted to make sure that I got out of the state, but they also wanted to make it uncomfortable for me. So they bought me a train ticket. But little do you know, my granddaddy was going to buy me a plane ticket, so you just wasted your money. So I accepted a little hotel. I accepted the train ticket. At this point, I'm plotting. So I'm plotting. I'm like, so how am I going to get him back, right? I'm talking to my granddad. I'm talking to my aunt. My aunt was like, well, when you go to the train station, you need to just grab your son and run, right? So I'm like, okay, that's really the only option I had. So fast forward 2 or 3 days passed. I was calling them. Not them, but I was calling him. I was calling CJ and just checking up on my son. So that would be that. It was really no further discussion about anything else. So I'm just sleeping in this hotel room, just angry, because how I carried this child for 9 months and y'all telling me that my child can't go back to his home. Like, I got this apartment so that my child can have a stable bedroom, a home. Not to say that their house isn't a home, but I'm working for this. His dad is just living off of his parents, and I'm actually working for the stuff that I have for me and my child. But, you know, everybody feels different. He feels like, you know, he's providing a home too. So that's what it was. So I'm in this hotel and days pass. Now it's time for me to get on the train, right? So I'm going to the train station. I forgot who gave me a ride to the train station. Oh, CJ came and picked me up. He didn't bring my son, and his parents didn't come either. He just came and picked me up and drove me to the train station. And that's how I got to the train station. He said that his parents were going to bring our son to the train station so that I could say goodbye to him. Okay. The nerve. And I'm just supposed to be calm as a whistle at this point. I'm just supposed to be so calm, because if I spaz out, they're going to call the cops again. And a girl like me, I'm going to jail. And ain't no telling when I'm getting out. So I'm really just in a shitty position right now. So I get to the train station, and here comes his parents. All the 3 of them come walking in with my son. His mom, his dad, CJ, and my son. My eyes directly go to my son. And I'm just so happy to see him. And I'm like, hey, talking to him. They let me hold him and stuff like that. Now, mind you, when they bought me the train ticket, the first thing they told me was, we'll hold on to your train ticket until you give us, I'm going to just give my son the name Jay, because I'm tired of saying my son. So they was like, we purchased your train ticket and everything, but we're going to hold on to your train ticket until you give us Jay back. So I was like, okay. So now they being real petty. Like, now you telling me I can't even catch the train. So even if I wanted to run with my son and hop on the bus to take me to the train station, hop on the little thing to take me to the train, then I can't even do that because they're not going to give me the ticket back. So they're really trying to play with my mind. So the little shuttle ends up pulling up to the train station. Meanwhile, I'm walking around talking to my aunt on the phone. Before this shuttle comes, I'm talking to my aunt on the phone. I'm walking around just holding on to my son. I don't put my bags on the floor. I don't even care about them bags. I don't care about them clothes. I don't care about nothing. My main objective is to, how am I going to get out of here? How am I going to get past them? And how am I going to hold tight to my son? So I'm walking back and forth. I'm pacing back and forth. I'm just laughing. He not laughing, but I'm just smiling, talking to him, stuff like that. Mind you, he's like, I think he was like 2. So I'm just holding him, and he heavy, and I'm little. I'm very little. So he getting real heavy on my arms, but I'm not letting him down, because if I let him down and he goes to them, it's over. I done failed. And all that money that my granddad spent for me to fly out there and execute this plan, I'm gonna be a failure. So I didn't let him go. I held on to him. My arms were stinging, but I held on to him. The little shuttle pulls up that's supposed to take you to where the actual train is. And this little area we was at was just about the train tickets. You had to go to another spot to catch the train. So the train pulls up, and immediately I sprint out the door and just run on the bus. CJ's mom was standing down there at the bottom of the steps that get onto the bus. She was like, "That's not her son. She's kidnapping."
What? Bro, what are you talking about, man?
This, that, and the third. Literally, no lie. That's exact. I wish I would have recorded this. This wasn't back in the days when I was recording, but I wish I would have recorded this. She literally said to the bus driver that I'm kidnapping my son. So I'm just standing on this bus, no train ticket or nothing, and all these people looking at me like I'm crazy. So she's down there making me look even more crazy by saying that's not even her son. She's kidnapping, this, that, and the third. If I could find a picture of my son when he was that little, I will insert it. But basically, my son he sort of looked mixed, but he didn't really look black. And I'm out there with people that are not black, and they're looking at me like I am kidnapping somebody's white child. So just making me look straight crazy. When she know that that's my child. No, I pushed him out my cuckoo. So the man telling me to get off the bus before he called the cops. Lord, I don't need the cops calling me again. Well, Lord knows I don't need those problems. So I hurry up, get off the bus, and then I immediately start running down the street that way. The building is back here. I take off to the left. Tell me why I'm running. Don't even look behind me. Ain't grab no clothes, ain't grab nothing. I'm just running with my son. He crying. This is the most stressful situation ever. So I'm just running. I'm just trying to find the next building so I can call the cops to escort me to the airport so that I can get on the plane. Mind you, my granddad had already bought my plane ticket. When I was talking to them inside of the little station back there, I had already found out that he bought my plane ticket to come back. So I had my plane ticket. I just had to make it there. And I had a couple of hours to make it there. So that was my goal, to make it somewhere where I could call the cops, get an escort ride back to the airport. I look behind me as I'm running, and guess who's running behind me? Him, his mama, and his daddy. This was like some Lifetime shit, and this was so real. They was all running behind me. They was trying to catch me and keep me from taking this child. Like, they was really acting like this was not my child. Jaylee was my child as well as his, but y'all doing a lot. And if I got to keep going through this is too much. So I finally make it into a building. I close the door and I tell them, can you hurry up and call the cops? These people are trying to steal my child. So they called the cops real fast, because the way I came in there, I was already out of breath. My child was crying. So they really thought it was a serious situation, which it was. So they called the cops. The cops come. I don't know where they was at, but they came fast. Like, the people locked the door when I got inside. They ended up locking the door. So meanwhile, CJ, his mom, and his dad was all standing outside. They couldn't get in. They was trying, but they couldn't get in. So the cops pull up. They standing there. They like, she has her grandson. And CJ was like, yeah, she got my son, and she don't need him. Like, basically trying to bash me and make it look like I'm crazy and stuff. When really y'all started this whole thing. Y'all was plotting behind my back to take my child from me to begin with, when we could have just sat down like 2 grown adults and came up with another plan. But this is what it's come to. So anyways, they talking to the cops. They trying to bash me, make me look bad. Meanwhile, I'm still inside behind this locked door. Now, finally, the cop comes in and he locks the door back behind him, right? Because he don't really know what's going on at this point. He trying to get both sides of the story. So he come in, he asks me what's going on, and I tell him, I'm like, well, you know, from beginning to end. I tell him basically he cheated on me back when I was in North Carolina. I am from North Carolina. I'm a resident of North Carolina, and he was staying with me. But when he found out that I didn't want to be with him because I found out that he was cheating on me, then he went and picked up my son from daycare, brought him all the way out here to Oregon, and I basically only came out here just to get my son and bring him back. They didn't know that I was coming out here to get him and bring him back, but y'all told me already, the cops here and the cops there already had told me that since we have no custody plan, y'all basically have to do it like this, honestly, or either communicate about it. And they're not trying to communicate about it, so I flew all the way out here and I'm not leaving without my son. And the cop was very understanding, and he was like, well, I understand, because if that happened to me, what, blah, 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 then, you know, people gonna go by any means to get their child. So he understood, and he gave me an escort ride to the airport. And child, when I got in the airport, I was still eerie. I was still weary. Like, I was watching my surroundings because I felt like they was going to pop up at any time. But they never knew that I was going to no airport. They just saw me get in a police car. And then, boom, I was at the airport. So I finally catch my flight. Time goes on, and I finally catch my flight. I'm on the plane. Oh, my God. I make it back to North Carolina. And I was so happy. I was so happy. Like, that was the end of that situation until he took me to court. Because now he wanted to get custody. Mind you, I didn't have no money for court and stuff. But he took me to court. And that would have to be another story time. I really don't know if I want to share that story time. But I probably will. But leave a like if you want me to share that story time. And comment down below if anything similar like this has ever happened to you. Because I really felt like in that moment that I was the only one that had ever experienced something like that. Like, that was just so traumatic. Traumatic for me, traumatic for my child. Forget them, because they started it. And it was just traumatic all the way around. It was a lot of money, wasted money spent, when all we had to do was communicate like two grown adults. We could have came to a better solution. But now I feel like you're trying to just steal my child. And is that the game we playing? Is that the game we playing? So the moral of this story, like I said before in my last story time, I always have a moral to my story times. I'm not just telling these story times to put my business out there, but I am putting my business out there. But I'm telling them because I feel like they can help somebody out. Maybe somebody's going through the same thing and they feel like they're the only one going through it, or they don't know how to go about it, or, you know, anything like that. So the moral of this story time is, if you are in a relationship with somebody, or you're thinking about leaving them, or you're not in a relationship with somebody and y'all are, you know, parenting and y'all have a child together, if y'all do not have no custody agreement, that other parent can take your child and take them wherever. You can take that child and take them wherever. It's just a matter of how bad are you going to piss off the other one to where they don't want to harm you, kill you, or, you know, stuff like that. Fortunately, that didn't happen in this situation, but I sort of feel like it would have, because if they would have knew what I was trying to do, like, child, I don't know. I don't put nothing past them now. After that whole situation happened, I don't put nothing past them. But it's a lot of stuff that can happen, and having children is dangerous. That's why you should be mindful who you have children with, because this was crazy. It literally was. And like I said, if you don't have custody with somebody, you might want to get it, because they can take your child. They can take them anywhere. And if you don't have the money and you're not in a predicament to ask somebody for money, you will probably never see your child again. And it's really a sad situation. Fortunately, I had my granddad to give me the money and fly me out there. But if you don't have nobody like that, you will never see your child again, like literally. And there's nothing nobody will do about it, because it's all about a piece of paperwork. Even though both of y'all names is on the birth certificate, that's the reason why. It's all about a piece of paperwork. Now, if you have a child with somebody and their name is not on the birth certificate, I don't think that this type of situation can happen, because they're technically not that child's parent, because their name is not on the birth certificate. So like I said, it's all about a piece of paper. So at the end of the day, I hope this video helped somebody out. If you enjoyed the story time, be sure to click that like button. Y'all gotta hit my likes up, because then I'll know whether I should keep going with these story times or if I should just dead it. You know, I'm trying to give y'all this good tea and y'all ain't supporting me. But that's gonna conclude this video. I love y'all. And if you enjoyed this video, like I said, be sure to hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, and comment down below if anything similar like this has happened to you or anybody that you know. And until next time, I will see you. And I hope you have a blessed and wonderful day. Peace.